I'll kick us off here. And as always, if you go to your Outlook invitation, you should see the agenda, but the agenda is really straightforward today. As we've sort of discussed in the past, we have our student ambassador, I still call it ambassador, our student representative program, where we have 11th through post-secondary students, 11th grade through post-secondary students that have been a part of our work for the fall semester and now in the spring semester. And the goal of this is to really embed their voice in our efforts. If we're going to talk about, credentials, and we're going to talk about our goals and helping them meet their goals, I've always thought it important to make sure we understand the environment to which they live and the experience they have. And so really that's why we're here today. We've done this a couple of different ways in the past, and this is the first time we have invited those students to be embedded in our action team meetings because we've had them come to a full quarterly council meeting before in the past, and we'll do that again. But we think this is a chance to have more personalized conversations with some of our students. And we've asked them to be here and to walk us through really a very short presentation where they've organized their thoughts behind some of these questions we've had for them about barriers and opportunities to success, so that we can get their perspective. So Kat's going to be sharing her screen, and if our students wouldn't mind just stating their name and their school before they get started, that would be wonderful. So I think we have Erin up first. So yeah, Erin, thank you.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Erin Mitchell, and I go to AB Tech, and I'm currently in my second year as a sophomore. This has been a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to be here again. The most surprising thing that I learned from my peers when I interviewed them, especially me going back to school and being older than the average AB Tech student, I'd like to say, with the younger students, was how many students didn't know exactly what their major would be in. And then when I would go into, oh, well, are you wanting to stay in Asheville? What are your goals to make pay wise? Like, are you looking to make over 100,000 a year? Or are you looking to make over 50,000 a year? And they didn't even know what the jobs that they wanted paid. They didn't know what was the best way to find a job that paid enough to sustain the lifestyle they wanted. Asheville, is a special opportunity because we do have such a high housing market here. I think a lot of the kids that grow up in Buncombe County aren't aware exactly how much a one-bedroom apartment is going to cost them once they're in college and moving out of their parents' house. So lack of awareness about budgeting, about salaries, about housing costs, about insurance. I think that it would be great for students to have that on their mind when they're looking at prospective careers and what they're going to be paid, and if it's going to be able to live on, and financial stability. Yeah. But that was definitely the most surprising thing for me. The most important message for the P20 council members to hear, based on my research, again, financial training or resources. I am a part of the counterbalance program here at AB Tech, which covers my tuition and my bookstore supplies. I would not be able to attend college and pay for it out of pocket right now with the way my finances are. So it definitely gives people like me the opportunity to come back to school and not have that lingering over our head. I personally didn't hear about the counterbalance program until I was speaking with my advisor and spoke with her about my lifestyle and what all was going on, and she was the one who invited me to apply for it. If it wouldn't have been for her, then I would have never known that this was a resource available. So I think that it's crucial for more word of mouth from advisors, from conferences, from presentations for high school seniors to know about scholarships, to know about opportunities like the counterbalance program they have. That's not so easy to overlook as besides maybe a pamphlet that's just sitting in their counselor's office. just increasing that awareness, access, and support for all the valuable programs like there are, and communication, I think would be very important for the upcoming adults and students and society members that we have coming. So. And the most valuable thing I learned from being a student representative is how impactful community support programs like the Counterbalance program is. Most of the interviews I did were from colleagues or I guess classmates that are also in the Counterbalance program. Learning that it helped over 100 people return to school that really wanted to be there really opened my eyes about how powerful of a resource it can be. I also gained a deeper appreciation for people like me that don't have the traditional student life and don't have, you know, potentially parents at home that will support them with their school and not having to work. It definitely gave me hope, and it gave my classmates that I interviewed hope, and it gave me a sense of purpose. You know, I have a fabulous counselor through the Counterbalance program who I touch base with once a month, and every time I touch base with her, it's just a pat on the back. You're doing great. What can I do to help you? And I couldn't do it without her. I do have a great support system at home, but my parents aren't necessarily patting my back every single month for making good grades in school. But hearing that there is that, and just knowing that there is a community out there that wants for us to succeed, that wants to have more educated people come and grow up here in Asheville and provide us with that, it was really, really wonderful to see. But yeah, so that's all for me. Thank you again.
Yeah, Erin, that was fabulous. I have heard so many phenomenal things about the Counterbalance program, and I know that that's different at every institution and always has a different name to it.
Mm-hmm.
But to make that make learning and credentialing a possibility for you, as you stated, as an adult learner and sort of a non-traditional learner, it's just really refreshing to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of this experience was to expose and you as a representative, but us as staff to this work and members of this work, to the challenges that your peers have. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to lean into things when we hear, a lot of students don't know about livable wages. They don't know how
Yeah.
much a one bedroom apartment costs,
Mm-hmm.
before they get to that point, of needing to, help their kids go through school
Yeah.
themselves. So,
It was
yeah, I really
definitely.
appreciate your
Mhm.
honesty.
Yeah, definitely. It was a huge culture shock whenever I was 19 and had a 1-year-old and making, $8 an hour and affording $1,200 rent. So just to be able to give kids, or not necessarily kids, but young adults, that opportunity to know and to be better educated and prepare themselves would be very beneficial, I think. But thank you again.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. So Rachel has her hand raised, and I meant to say at the beginning, I'm sorry, y'all, that let's take these questions after each one. So Rachel, perfect timing on that. So that way y'all can hit up our students right after they present with those questions. So go ahead, Rachel.
Sure. Thank you, Erin, for sharing. One thing I noticed in the 3 sections you presented was the importance of the connection. You talked about the counselor and also the advisor that helped you find your way to the program. I also hear and have experiences with younger folks that we're used to, signing up for things online and kind of self-serving, and like we avoid having to make phone calls, or people are avoiding having to go to these in-person engagements. Is it, did you notice that there are any ways that we can, I don't know, encourage more people to seek those advisors out, or how can we build on that, the power that's there from the person to person connection?
Personally, I would try to, relate, of course, relate with the, I'm just going to say 18 to 20-year-olds that are freshly graduated from high school. What do they like? They like games, they like food. I'm sure that you're at the career fair right now and you see some booths that have all those things to get their attention. I think that even if, you know, there was a specific team that went around to all the local high schools and maybe, you know, made a presentation, set up in the gym, set up in the cafeteria, saying, you know, free money, come here to learn how, or a scholarship available, come here to talk to us, and maybe recruiting college kids that can they're not going to be as intimidating to speak with than a somebody in an older population. I definitely think would be beneficial, maybe having a team from AB Tech or having a team from this program, or I'm not sure, but I definitely think that the one-to-one maybe with college students, that way they're not as intimidated to speak with a full-fledged adult, and drawing them in with food and games. I know that resources are limited already, but I definitely feel like there are resources that don't get used too, that are out there and ready to be used, especially at AB Tech. So word of mouth presentations and just local outreach to the high schools. I went to Inca High School, and one of the young men that I interviewed had actually dropped out and was doing the GD program at AB Tech. And there's kind of a building at Inca High School called the Ag Building, where all the agriculture classes are out in it. So anybody that's primarily in those agriculture classes, they're kind of alienated from the rest of the school. And he said that he had no idea any of the resources that were available for him. And he was just out in a different building of the high school the majority of the time at Inca. So, you know, finding those niche communities, maybe in the different high schools, in the agriculture program, giving them specific blue collar job opportunities that AB Tech offers, you know, really pinpointing what demographics could be getting overlooked, opposed to, you know, for instance, the AP or the student body council students at the high schools that might have the initiative to go and discover it themselves. But I'm not sure what else I'd elaborate on.
Thank you very much for that response.
Of course. Any further questions?
Yeah, thank you, Erin, so much. Yeah. Thank you. One of the things I heard you say, and that I've heard really from every student representative across the board, is they were all surprised by the answers of their peers, regardless of what it was, right? Mm-hmm. So I learned that my peers do know, or they don't know, or I could relate, or I couldn't relate, or that there was this, I guess, surprise of peer-to-peer not understanding or learning what other peers' experience has been. And kind of what I got from that is like, oh, I don't think the students are talking to each other, right? That there was so much that each representative learned from their peers across, you know, a range of experiences. And they were like, I never would have known that, right? Or I interviewed someone and they mentioned, I'm just going to say like, you know, just for an example, Erin, like, yeah, most of the people that you interviewed were part of the Counterbalance program, but maybe there was one that you didn't, that just learned about it. Maybe Mary Grace on this call right now, she's also an AB Tech student, and we didn't do that on purpose. It just happened. I think we only have the two of you, maybe three from AB Tech across all the representatives, but two of you are presenting today. Like, I think there is also an importance of creating an opportunity at the, you know, the teacher level or the council level to get students together to talk to each other, because we also know that students, not that it's a student's responsibility to teach other students, it's ultimately the administration job, but there's such an impact. You know, I know that with, you know, my 18-year-old, it's like, you know, I can, you know, harp on her all day about things, but until she's, you know, she learns more at this age, especially from your peers and from their experiences. So I think there's just this importance of students talking to other students about their experience that's incredibly valuable. And it's often received in a way that sometimes the adult to student just age gap and our
Yeah.
own experiences can maybe not quite get the point across as much. So I hear that from you, and I've heard that from almost every student representative as well.
Yeah, and that's actually what I had to do since I take all my classes online. I thought about, oh, who else do I know that goes to AB Tech? And that's how I interviewed the one guy who was just in the GED program that had dropped out of high school, and then had come back to AB Tech to get his GED. I knew him, but then I was like, oh, how am I going to find some other classmates? So I reached out to some, like, my counterbalance advisor, and I asked her, I said, hey, like, I have this program, I need to find some students to interview. And then that's how I got connected with so many other counterbalance programs. So especially with virtual students, it's hard. But yeah. Am I good to mute?
Yeah, I think it's,
Scott,
yeah. And
Okay,
Kat,
cool.
I'll let you determine, the
Okay.
next presentation,
all right.
or to pull it up, sorry.
I got it.
Erin, that
All
was
right.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hey, so sorry.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead, Mary Grace.
All right.
All
My
right.
name is Mary Grace, and I'm also at AB Tech, and I plan to graduate this spring. I too have had a somewhat different college experience where I did not go to college right out of high school. And before I did present, I did want to share a little bit about my background to give y'all some context. I took about 4 years off from high school to college because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I think those 4 years really have shaped me as a person and me as a student and a professional. In those years, I was able to get my CNA, and at one point in time, I did want to go to nursing school, and yeah, I plan to do that through AB Tech. And then I began working in the mental health field, and from that point on, I've gotten certifications, and those jobs that provided those certifications for me have really set me up for success and shown me the possibilities that the field has to offer. So I'm forever grateful for my previous bosses and supervisors. And yeah, so I interviewed another AB Tech student, a student at Mars Hill, Warren Wilson, and two at UNCA. And I got a variety of responses. And I will too say that the theme of what I heard from them is resources. Most of them said, I know there's resources out there, but I'm not sure how to use them. I'm not sure who to go to find them. And additionally, I heard a lot of people saying they wish they had more hands-on learning experiences through their institutions opposed to just work or something outside of school. And yeah, I have here on the bottom, this response made me realize that the lack of access to career resources is not just about availability, it's about visibility and support. It also reinforced that students need more than just resources, they need clear guidance on how to use them effectively. And so, yeah, I would say this is my overarching theme. And to touch on my experience at AB Tech, I feel similarly to Erin, and I also had not heard of the counterbalance, so thank you for sharing that with us. In my experience, any question I've ever had, I've found an answer, whether it's getting help with FAFSA or loans or payment or how do I buy a book. I know they also have career counselors through AB Tech, which I have not used, but I think it's a wonderful resource that I wish more students knew about. And I know in all of our syllabuses, for example, there are some undertones of this is what AB Tech offers, and I know they do try to put things up on bulletin boards and really get the word out there. And yeah, ultimately, I chose to continue my education at AB Tech because of all of the marketing and things I've heard throughout town was my first exposure. So with that, I can go to explain the second slide. I'm so sorry. Sorry, there's like a lawnmower outside. We didn't know he was coming today.
It's
Yeah, so
okay. We
P20
understand.
again. Do you mind if I go to a different room real quick?
Not
Okay,
at
thank
all.
you so much for understanding.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think Scott feels right at home.
For sure.
Oh my God, no, my dog is a
Emily's sitting in her
mess right
car.
now.
I'm-
She is loud.
Emily's in the car. I'm having lunch. Everybody's just like,
Right.
we're living
Yeah.
real life.
Yep. Good point there, Rachel.
I know we have a construction site next door, and my dog thinks she is the general contractor for what is happening at all times.
Hilarious.
Oh yeah, one of mine is definitely the mayor of the subdivision.
The mayor. Just really quick, Mary Grace, I love the cross section of students you interviewed. I think that's amazing.
Agreed. Yeah, that's really cool.
You're muted, Mary Grace.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank y'all for understanding again. And yeah, I felt like it was important to try to talk to people from different counties, people that have been from the area, people who aren't. Because I know we've got Mars Hill in Madison County, Blue Ridge Community College in Henderson, but I'm not really too sure about the other ones necessarily. But again, I heard people say they were familiar with the job fairs, especially at AB Tech. And I know with my experience working in the mental health field, sometimes we would take our clients to the job fairs. And what I noticed was there were a lot of agencies, like a hiring agency, that could kind of place people with a match at different locations. So I found that helpful in their journeys, and especially, yeah, working at a sober living and having young emerging adults trying to navigate the world in this new lens. It was really special to get to witness that firsthand. I did notice a theme throughout the UNCA students in that they felt like their academic journey did not feel complete to them because of the lack of hands-on experience. I heard themes of participating in lectures, but learning all this information, but not knowing how to apply it and what to do with it. So then, on the contrary, with the Warren Wilson student, I heard her talk about how she's done internships every semester with them, and they have the work program through the university. So through that, she's really gotten to explore what the workforce looks like. And yeah, I also decided recently to transfer there after AB Tech for to get a bachelor's in social work. And ultimately, that's why I chose that institution, was to get the hands-on experience, to get to work with different populations in different settings, and also have the structure and support of professors and the university as a whole while we're learning. And yeah, I noticed that the lack of resources impacts confidence, readiness for future success, and I think that this shortcoming in our area does leak into these different things. It affects families and whole organizations and small businesses. So I think this council is doing great things. And yeah, looking at the numbers and everything, I think I saw where 10,000, y'all are looking for like 10,000 more to the quota, or the 80. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so I like that all that was on the website and we could really get to see the insights and the numbers to it. And with that, I can move on to the third slide. And yeah, insights reveal how crucial access to career resources are for the community, especially after Helene. I know that it has affected all of us in the region in some way, whether it's direct or indirect. And yeah, addressing these gaps are crucial for everybody as a whole. My main points I wanted to drive home was raise awareness for students, expand work-based learning, more hands-on experience, and yep, career counseling, mental health support, and personalized academic pathways with tailored guidance. So in a perfect world, I would propose that each student at any university, even high schools, maybe even middle schools, have a class each semester where they focus on potential careers, maybe if that's taking career quizzes or talking to people in the community and having maybe speakers come in and share their experience working in different fields to give that early exposure. And I really do think it starts from early education and really does build up to higher learning. So yeah, thank you all for listening and bearing with me with the dogs. So thank you.
Yeah, Mary Grace, that was fabulous. And absolutely, yeah, we all mostly have pets, so we understand for sure. I did have a question for you. When you were in high school, do you feel like you had a open door to um not just a counselor, but somebody who you could talk to about what you've mentioned here, career resources and other resources?
Yeah, so I went to high school in Georgia. I went to a private Christian school where I went there from pre-K until graduation. So their whole mission was to prepare us for college. Um, and I noticed that meant a lot of SATs, ACTs, standardized testing. But when it came down to it, those last 3 to 1 years, I did not feel like I had those resources. I know our senior year, they um, gathered us in an assembly and sent us a link to a career quiz. And so we did the career quiz, and I'm like, okay, this is great, but I don't know what a microbiologist is, and I don't know how to do that. So again, we have the information, but it's the application that was really missing. So I also think it speaks measures that it was, this private institution, and we weren't receiving that. So yeah, love to bring awareness to that in schools.
Solid point there. Yep.
Just to touch base on that, I went to Inca High School, and I was on student body council and very involved in high school. And I even did a semester working as a counselor assistant, maybe my sophomore year. And I did not have they didn't have any place to go to talk to people about that. I'm sure I could have made an appointment with a counselor, but in my brain back then is when you made an appointment with a counselor, it's because it was something going on at home, something that the school needed to go in and help with. It wasn't just to go in and talk about, oh, what am I going to be when I grow up? Yeah, sorry, just touch base on that.
No, I think that's a great
Yeah.
point too, in bringing awareness around the stigma that how it might look to visit the school counselor and for your peers to say, oh, that person maybe is troubled. Why do they have to see the counselor? So.
I thought of another thing too, when you talked about microbiologists. Another great thing to educate young adults on in Asheville is what kind of careers are in the area, because we don't have a lot of tech jobs or scientific jobs or anything like that. So if they want to stay in the area and get a job like that, they need to be prepared to either work remote or to relocate. So, sorry.
I was glad you asked that question, Emily. It reminded me of a conversation we've been having at another similar table to this, which is Buncombe County's United for Youth initiative. And as that team is choosing priorities, one of the things that's rising to the top is the importance of a caring, trusted adult. And we're looking at ways to, again, it's sort of back to even what Erin was saying, that those person-to-person, one-to-one connections can be so influential in people's paths. And so how can people that don't have an automatic connection to youth right now figure out ways through help from organizations to show up as mentors, as volunteers, to be additions to that system, so it's not just like the academic advisor and the school counselor are trying to do it on their own. Also, Mary Grace, I am a Warren Wilson graduate myself, so if you ever need a point of contact at Buncombe County Government, jot my name down. We do have social work here, mostly in adult and in child services of the sort of protective, child protective and adult protective. We do some prevention and things like that. So if you ever need a Buncombe County Government contact, drop me a line.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I like the point that you raised about the connection and circling back to Erin's. And I know in Buncombe County, there's programs like UMOJA and the YWCA, but I think it would be important to expand that to Madison County and Transylvania specifically, where there's not too much going on and they can have almost like a peer, somebody they look up to in the community, and always have a support, somebody positive in their life.
And to Erin's point, not always adults. There's another term that people throw around called near peer, which is kind of what you were getting at, like people who are in college talking to people who are in high school.
Perfect. Okay. Scott, Tracy, are y'all good?
No, I have a lot to say, actually. It's good. It's good. Now,
Really,
first, I want to thank both Mary Grace and Erin for telling your stories and doing these interviews and bringing this information to us. Mary Grace, I really kudos to you for taking a break and not going into college right away. I mean, I think that not everybody is ready right away. And I think it's great that you took some time to figure some things out and then get into college. I just wanted to react to some of the observations that you have shared. And one of the challenges that, oh, and by the way, I'm with Blue Ridge Community College. One of the challenges that we continue to work through, I heard a lot about like a lot of lecture, a lot of theory, would love more hands-on. And I think historically, like depending on whether obviously the community colleges and the four-year colleges and universities typically have very different missions. And, going back years ago, like when you look at a liberal arts education, the argument has always been that it is to teach you how to think. And whereas community colleges started out very much as more technical, the skilled trades programs, that type of thing, I think community colleges and universities have grown leaps and bounds. And so we're always working with our four-year partners to define those pathways through high school into community college and perhaps onto a four-year college. And one of the things, again, I heard like peer connections, again, like the more hands-on, and Emily is probably so sick and tired of hearing me talk about apprenticeship. But that is a model that is really working, and just for a number of reasons. One, it's a cohort model. So I think in particular too for adult learners, but those right out of high school too, having that consistent support system from start to finish where you're there to support each other, works really well. Obviously, I think when people think of apprenticeship, they immediately just think of manufacturing, for example, which apprenticeship is huge in manufacturing, but really any career can be connected to an apprenticeship. So we have about 16 different pathways at Blue Ridge, ranging from, we have automotive, we have manufacturing, we have healthcare, we have business and banking. So, and that is something too that, so our program, Apprenticeship Blue Ridge, I think is probably about 6-7 years old at this point, and it's taken a while, but I think it's really grown because of the peer interaction and students seeing their peers have a good paying job and being mentored and that type of thing. So, and then I just wanted to, in terms of student support at Blue Ridge, I feel pretty good about the things that we have put in place. And just any feedback is always welcome. Like, for example, we're structured, we call it a one-stop, where we have one building where basically students can go if they're new students or existing students, and they don't have to go all over campus type thing. So especially for a new student who comes in, our admissions, our financial aid, our counselors, continuing education, our NC Works career lab, they're all in one facility. So we can, you don't have to send people all over the place. We have student success coaches that we pair students with. We have early alert systems where faculty are really engaged if they see that a student is struggling, they put in like case notes, and a success coach follows up with the student, which has proven to be really successful. We have open houses all the time where we do offer food. We go into the high schools. Our financial aid team goes into the high schools to assist with FAFSA, and we host FAFSA days on our campus for students and parents. And so I just share that to give you some perspective, like of at least some things that we're doing at Blue Ridge or trying at Blue Ridge, and if you had any suggestions. And then kind of my number one question still, especially for the younger generation, is how do they best receive information? How do they want to receive information? Because what we're told is that they don't read emails, and that they don't do Facebook because that's for older people now. And I mean, we know that there's like TikTok or whatever, but that's the thing I struggle with, is how do we best get the information to them? So I'm sorry, I know that was like a big brain dump, but again, kudos to the work that you've helped P20 do. This information is very helpful. And again, I just welcome any reaction, any advice, any other perspective you'd like to offer. Not all at one time.
Erin, you were trying to speak, and then you
There we
unmuted,
go.
but there you go. Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of this other website called Discord. It has a lot of younger community on it, and I actually took a biology class where somebody had said that AP Tech has a Discord server that's for AP Tech students to talk to. Maybe that would be something to look into. I know that a lot of the younger generation are on Discord.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's great to know. Mary Grace, how do you think students best, or prospective students really, they don't have to be students now, but how do we best help expose students to opportunities, since, Scott mentioned him and I are on Facebook, and that's just for old people. So
I really like the dual enrollment program where
and how did you learn about that?
how did I learn about that?
Yeah.
I personally did dual enrollment when I was in high school in Georgia, but a lot of
Oh,
my
that's
peers
yeah.
at AB Tech are in high school through the Madison Early College. So
Okay.
I don't think I've met anybody who's done it through Blue Ridge, but it, it's good to see young people in the classrooms learning and getting their degrees so soon, but at the same time, I fear that it's not enough exposure. But I think y'all raise a lot of good points about Facebook, and our generation isn't really reading the newspaper or magazines as much. I know that AB Tech sends a ton of pamphlets to my house. I probably get like 5 a week. And so ultimately, even though it can be a bit pestering, is I needed that because those little things did push me to go, and hearing about word of mouth and billboards. So I think the constant exposure to it ultimately can prompt somebody's decision more. And I would have never assumed that little things like that would be so impactful. I personally have not heard of Discord. I'm not huge on the internet, but I'm sure any kind of online platform it would be helpful to reach Gen Z, and I guess what, Gen Alpha now coming up.
I've lost track. I'm sure you're right. Yeah, because I know now that right now we have 5 different generations in the workplace. And they say that on average now that individuals will have 6 different careers throughout their lifetime. Not jobs, careers. I mean, wow.
Right, and we recently learned in our developmental psychology class that students or just people from the age of 18 to 25 have on average of 7 different jobs in those 7 years.
Wow.
Wow. That's something. Yeah. I think those kind of stats are just important to know and just to be always aware of, because certainly having that multi-generational workforce, but also like almost like a nomad workforce. Like 7 is, in my mind, that's a nomad workforce because they're going to different places and have different interests as they get older, and that's natural. Like I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, and time's running short, so I better figure that out soon. But I think those are all really important things to keep in mind. I do want to ask, because we're doing a college app campaign, which is essentially the name of a company that runs customized and tailored social media ads that we have targeted, that sounds terrible, but targeted certain individuals for, like over 50,000 households, that we're working to customize Facebook ads and to reach them. And those have been happening since February. Have you guys noticed in just general internet searches, because we all know how that happens, like you look for something on Amazon and then all of a sudden you're getting these ads for whatever you were looking for on Amazon, that show up. And I'm just curious, for the both of y'all, have y'all noticed any post-secondary ads showing up in any sort of Google searches or social media that you have?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I definitely know that I get a ton of mail from AB Tech as well. Um, and I'm always like, oh, I wonder if they mark, like, I'm always wondering, like, do they know that I'm currently attending? But I don't know. I don't recall off the top of my head. I'm also not on Facebook too much. I definitely feel like I spend more of my time on Instagram and on Reddit. And I know that you can personalize those ad selections on Instagram as well with demographics and areas. And I've seen ads on Reddit as well. And I think Reddit has a really younger population too. So maybe that would be a great place to target ads in the future. I also, if I were to see an ad, I'd probably chalk it out to them, stalking my search history on my Safari. Yep. Because, but yeah, that's a great idea.
The items that you both receive in the mail, are they are they very broad, general, or do you feel like they're targeted somewhat to what you're currently studying, or do you have any idea of that?
Sometimes I've gotten a full miniature magazine of every program, every class, and then in the back of it, it's usually continuing education, so pottery, skills, and then things like welding or kind of
Mhm.
trades in the back of it. So I've noticed they come in detail, but sometimes it will be a small postcard thing that says like start your journey today or something
Yeah.
kind of easy. But yeah, I
Yeah.
will say that. Mhm.
Enroll today, postcards, stuff like that.
And you're already there.
Yeah.
Oh no. That's like I
But
just got one of those from my dentist the other day. I'm like, hello, I'm already there. One other quick question for you too. Something else that we are still working on, like with K through 12, is, and this is by no means a criticism on them, because I think what has happened over time is that guidance counselors in the high schools are just very overloaded. And we hear that often four-year colleges are pushed a lot more than two-year colleges. And that's where there are so many, and I have a four-year degree, and it's certainly one pathway to success, but it's not the only pathway. And often there are so many good ways. Apprenticeship is one, but other ways to come through community college first, save money, whatever the case may be. And then there are pathways into four-year schools. So, and again, going back to the like wanting more hands-on, those types of things, that could be part of that gap. Do you have any take on whether or not you feel like maybe in general students were pushed more towards four-year colleges, or what are your thoughts?
I took AP classes in high school. Unfortunately, I didn't pass very many AP exams for me to get credit for them in college. But I felt definitely from the AP students, all my classmates went to four-year colleges. I'm not quite sure if all of them knew exactly what kind of student loan debt they were signing up for whenever they did that. And I have a feeling that some of them would have gone the route to save money, looking back now with how hard it is to pay off student loans once you get in there. I definitely feel like in that really demographic, though, at the high school, there isn't as much pressure as it is for the kids that are out in the ag building who would want to go into the trades and want those apprenticeships. I felt like that side of, and even the kids that are in honors classes and in standard classes, I felt like they need more focus and education as to the resources that are available. And then there just needs to be a more simpler approach as to, if you do go to this school, this is how much you're going to owe for every single year that you're there. And this is what it's going to look like after 4 years. And that's even if you don't take a short semester, or if you don't fail any classes, or if you do fail a class, like this is how much you're going to be paying out of pocket to fail this class. I feel like a lot of that is, you go on, you fill out your FAFSA, you're like, okay, great. I'm good. I don't have to worry about paying anything right now. Back of the brain. And I don't think a lot of kids know what they're getting into at that point. But yeah.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree. And I like I took an academic success course through AB Tech in my first semester that everybody has to take. And we really got to learn some of the laws and policies in North Carolina, such as if you do graduate with an associate's degree, I think you automatically get into at least one um, public university, and then they can't deny any credits if you have graduated. They can't, I think they can't just accept
That's
40
correct.
of them and say, yeah, we're not going to accept the other 20. But yeah, I think educating the younger people on student loans and long-term impacts, because sometimes at the age, people might think, yeah, it's a student loan, but I can pay it off. but not really, because they haven't been in the position, so they really sometimes can't get the full picture to what they're walking into. But yeah, community college to me was so key. It's so affordable, um, and not as stressful. It's smaller class sizes. You really get to know people. Um, I know that I take 2 psychology classes right now, and they both meet in the same room. And then my other 2 classes meet right next to each other. So I
Mhm.
think I have 5 people that I share 4 classes with. So it's nice in that way too to get to build relationships with peers and rub off on each other, and talk about our futures. And um, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Scott, if you want to use AB Tech students in a Blue Ridge commercial with those quotes, then I'm gonna let
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
was going to
let you
say,
do that.
if you all would just put your mailing addresses in the chat, I'll put you on Blue Ridge's mailing list so that you fill up that mailbox some more.
Oh, that's the best. I also get the Con Ed magazines. I'm pretty sure it's just like all bunkum. I'm sure Rachel does too. Like we all get the Con Ed magazines, which is good. I just joke with Deborah. I'm like, I got your picture in my post office again today.
I love those catalogs. I get like a little like I want to be a student again. That looks fun. I want to do that. Like I ended they sucked me in. I took sewing, watercolor. Like I have taken some like really fun classes just for funsies at AB
Yeah,
Tech because of
yeah.
that.
And keep in mind that, continuing education goes way beyond like the personal enrichment stuff. What we try to do at Blue Ridge is structure, like welding was mentioned. Like if you take a welding class through continuing education and you decide later, I think maybe I'd like to pursue a certificate or a degree in welding, we'll take that credit, give you internal academic credit for it so that you can continue. Because that's another, I'm glad you triggered that for some, that they just think like, oh, continuing education is only pottery and some of those self-enrichment courses, but yeah, it goes way beyond that too. And again, all of that is messaging and communication and marketing, that type of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
but I'm happy to sign you up. I will send you the I'll send you some info.
Oh, our students didn't know how competitive our colleges are until they got on the call today. But no, that's yeah, this has been great. Really appreciate y'all's efforts in this, and the journey's not over. So Scott, Rachel, and Tracy, the idea is for our students to collectively join us at our end of April convening, our quarterly convening, to sort of piggyback on what we've discussed today, but to move it to a place where, sort of what we see in Mary Grace's right-hand side of her presentation here of like, how can we take those takeaways and make something tactile out of that, or something that collectively, as a body that spans the full educational continuum, that's what makes this so tricky sometimes. How can we start to tackle some of those takeaways? Because we all know those bite-sized pieces is what leads to bigger impact. So, yeah, again, thank you so much for being engaged in this process and being so forthcoming with your experiences. We are super appreciative. So, yeah, Kat, is there anything we need to finish this off?
No, I'm just so grateful. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Your presentations were amazing and the questions were great and the connections again, like, just really quick. I mean, Rachel, thank you for, you know, saying that to Mary Grace and I mean, you just never know, right, where a connection is made. And that's ultimately, like Emily and I talk about this all the time, right, with the student representative program is those possible connections. The goal here is that is our goal for the institutions that our council consists of and the students in the field is to just keep the lines of communication open, learn, and hopefully if one connection can be made that makes a difference in somebody's life, then it was all worth it. That's why we do this. So thank you.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well,
All
wonderful.
right.
I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your day. I'll go back inside and talk to some more students from the region. So maybe I'll see you here today at some point, Scott. Anyway, take care.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Tracy.